I request our Dr. Ved Prakash Mishra, sir, to give a special address to all of us. Thank you, sir.
Honorable Chancellor of this esteemed university, and a very erudite brother of mine, Professor Dr. Jairaj, the founder of this esteemed university, a very personal friend of mine, respected Dr. Mahalingam, the father of bioethics movement in this country, for which the country shall always be ever debted and indebted, esteemed Professor Russell D'Souza, my esteemed brother and the torchbearer of bioethics in this notable university of yours, Rajiv Ahluwalia, Honorable Pro-Chancellor of the University, Honorable Madam Vice-Chancellor of the University, heads of the academic constituent units of this university, my esteemed brother Dr. Vivek Maddy, Director IQAC, members of the teaching faculty, and all ladies and gentlemen present over here. At the outset, I would like to compliment respected Dr. Mahalingam and Santosh University for really fetching an honor to this great country of yours and mine in a mode and manner which is exemplary, which is definitely rightly put in by Honorable Chancellor, an event which is expected to be a real historicity in making, and that is that World Bioethics Conference. So far 16 held in chronology ever since its launch had not reached this country. Therefore, let me put it very squarely on record. Santosh University, founded by Dr. Mahalingam, derives the privilege of bringing the World Bioethics Conference on the Indian soil, which is a landmark and milestonic connotation in its own nature. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not just a hostship. It's not just bringing out as to what we have in terms of presentation. Contemplate a situation when we talk in terms of the equilateral development in the global community of nations plagued by inequities. When we contemplate that a Nelson Mandela is jailed for 27 years. For what? For anti-apartheid. Where racial discrimination dominates. Where socio-economic inequities absolutely have polarized the world into a total demarcated differentiation. In such a situation, the dominant part of the world, which is wanting to rule the entire humanity alike in the most dehumanized manner, in such a world, ladies and gentlemen, not only claiming your pound of flesh, but snatching it down their nose and bringing it onto the soil which rightly and richly deserves it. If ethics had its mother repository anywhere in the world, ladies and gentlemen, contemplate the situations and civilizations that the world boasts of. What had Allama Iqbal to say? What was the reason? What was the logic? What was the rationale? And what was that contour and connotation which made him express the reality in terms of what? यूनान मिस्र रोमा सब मिट गए जहां से, बाकी रहा है अब तक नामो निशान हमारा। कुछ बात है कि हस्ती मिटती नहीं हमारी, सदियों रहा है दुश्मन दौरे ज़मा हमारा। हम टिके हैं। किस कारण टिके? It's not the military might which has made this country absolutely withstand anything and everything. The entire 1,000 years of the slavery have turned off, but the cultural contours of this country remain intact. सांस्कृतिक परिवेश टिके थे, टिके हैं और टिके रहेंगे। कौन सी वो ताकत है, कौन सी वो क्षमता है, कौन सी वो अकीरत है, और कौन सी वो अकीरत जो इतनी बड़ी हकीकत है? एकमात्र कारण है कि इस देश के अंतर्गत बसने वाली वो आदर्श मूल्य व्यवस्था जो कल थी, आज है, कल भी कल कल कर रही थी और कल भी कल कल करती हुई कल करती रहेगी। This is the strength, ladies and gentlemen, that this country of yours and mine harbors. पर फिर भी दुनिया की बायोएथिक्स कॉन्फ्रेंस एथिक्स की धर्मदात्री और एथिक्स की जन्मदायिनी की गोद में नहीं आई, ये हकीकत है। दिस इज द रियलिटी। एंड देयरफॉर अनेक लड़ाइयां लड़ी गई होंगी, अनेक लड़ाइयों के दस्तूर नए तौर के ऊपर में प्रतिगामित हुए होंगे, परंतु फिर भी एक नई लड़ाई ब्राजील की धरती के ऊपर में लड़ी गई, और उस लड़ी जाने वाली लड़ाई का अंतिम निष्कर्ष ये निकला कि गंगोत्री से जो गंगा निकली थी वो फिर गंगोत्री के पास वर्ल्ड बायोएथिक्स कॉन्फ्रेंस 18th कॉन्फ्रेंस के नाम पर वापस लौटी, और उस गंगोत्री को लौटाने वाला भगीरथ जो उस शिव के साथ खड़ा है, जहां पर अब वो अपनी चोटी के अंतर्गत उसे ले लेगा, उसी का नाम संतोष यूनिवर्सिटी है। और उसी संतोष यूनिवर्सिटी के ऑन माई बिहाफ एंड ऑन बिहाफ ऑफ ऑल ऑफ अस, मैं आज आप सबकी उपस्थिति में मेरे मित्र महालिंगम जी का बारसा करने जा रहा हूं, उन्हें नया नाम देने जा रहा हूं। इसके बाद डॉक्टर महालिंगम, आई विल नॉट कॉल यू डॉक्टर महालिंगम, आई विल कॉल यू भगीरथ महालिंगम। It is in that context I am wanting to put across. Ladies and gentlemen, believe me, it's not a small event. It's not an eventuality. It's not just a conference. It's a global conference, not because it has got its own impact in terms of its contourship, basically because it is something where we are in a position to win a battle for a larger war which is expected to be in the name of humanity. Ladies and gentlemen, contemplate the situation. The technological advancement, the rapidity with which the social transformation and the professional transformation is taking place. Where exactly the professional values are expected to be putting across? What is that ethical conduct which is going to be governing the robotic part of medicine, which is going to be a matter of totalistic reality in coming times? It is the crisis which is absolutely plaguing the entire men and mankind as a whole. Dehumanization which is taking place, not that I am saying it. Alvin Toffler in the year 1993, when he wrote the greatest book which I believe, Future Shock, what did he say? Professor Jarraj, he pointed out two things which you were rightly referring to. First he said was, this mechanical robotization that we in the name of scientific advent of technology we are required to be succumbing to. What is the price that we are required to be paying needs to be deciphered very loudly and clearly. The price that the humanity as a whole is required to be paying is this growth and development is at the cost of, and the word which he used, I am quoting and unquoting, fossilization of the emotional self of man at the sacrilege of ethical self of humanity. I am putting two important words, ladies and gentlemen, and these are not words. These are the realistic challenges that we are facing day in and day out, and we do not know as to what is the way out. Is it not a fact that all of the entire mechanization that has taken place, which has taken the entire shine of clinical medicine in the name of mechanization and in the name of robotization of the medicine, has it not taken away the soul of medicine? Is a $1 million question which I am wanting to put across. What was that rationale? What was that propensity? What was that articulation as a result of which father of the modern medicine, William Osler, had to say that medicine is a science of possibility and an art of probability. What is expected to be the future of these two dimensions in the name of chronological robotization of the medicine that we are required to be watching with our own eyes. It is in this context, ladies and gentlemen, what Belmont report in 1979 pointed out, that in case the profession is expected to be absolutely getting bereft of the humanization, then the human face itself of the profession will be something which in coming times will be required to be kept as a specimen in the museum, so that the posterity will be able to visit it some point of the times in their lives कि हाँ मेडिसिन में एक समय ह्यूमनाइजेशन हुआ करता था और वो ऐसा रहा करता था. Will the society be in a position to pay this price is $1 million question, ladies and gentlemen. And therefore, what was being put across and what was being contemplated as civil society, what is contemplated as cultured society, what is taken as civilized society, and what ultimately in terms of Socrates is taken as prudent society, and finally emerging in the form of what he contemplates utopian in nature and character as egalitarian society. Is this transformation mechanical? Is it just chronological? Is it temporal, or is it something more? Realize the two words which Dr. Jairaj was referring to. One end barbaric society, and the other end civilized and prudent society that you and me inhabitants are. What is the transformation? It's not a transformation which is only biological in character. It's not a transformation which is only intellectual in character. It's not a transformation which is only behavioral or emotional in character, ladies and gentlemen. The basic core of the transformation which has taken place is governed by a cardinal principle. And what is that cardinal principle? I am putting that in the simplest of the simple form, which means in a barbaric society, the society is governed by the only principle is, quote, might is right. जिसकी लाठी उसी की भैंस, ये barbaric society है. What converts a barbaric society into a human society into a civil society into a cultured society into a prudent society, and a prudent society into an egalitarian society? It's only one shift, and that is in this transformation when might is right gets converted into right is might. That is exactly the basis of transformation. And that right is might contemplates right of weakest of the weak, right of poorest of the poor, and right of remotest of the remote, ladies and gentlemen. These are not phrases. These are the humanistic faces which are required to be built into the operational systems, and those operational systems have to be professional systems as well. Occupation and profession. There is a subtle difference. Just as all alkalis are bases, but all bases are not alkalis. Similarly, all professions are occupations, but all occupations are not professions. What is the difference? A gigantic difference takes place. If you look into the Indian Constitution, the entitlement of learning to be worked up by every citizen is contemplated in definitive terms under Article 19 of the Constitution of India, which says every citizen shall be entitled for earning his or her living in terms of definitive parables are given. In terms of availing occupation, vocation, trade, calling, order, and profession. These are the options which have been put across. This is the spectrum which has been put across, which begins from occupation and ends in profession. And you and me are not only talking of profession, but we are talking of a profession with a prefix of noble profession. And now I say noblest of the noble profession. Are these hollow adjectives? Are these meaningless prefixes? Are these absolutely connotations which do not connote anything, or they mean something substantial? Recall, how does an occupation get converted into a profession? There are definitive parameters which have been defined for the conversion of this when A occupation is invoked in terms of the structured training which has been worked out for that purpose, resulting into earning of a definitive certifiable qualification, and that certification of qualification is by a statutorily created authority. That is the first requirement to be fulfilled. Therefore, MBBS qualification in this country, in terms of the first 1916 Indian Medical Degrees Act, contemplated into Section 2F, University Grants Commission Act, defining universities with the rightful right of the conferment of degree, extrapolated to Section 3, meaning inclusion of the deemed universities on par with Section 2F created universities. This is the first requirement for the conversion of a occupation into profession. That does not suffice. There must be a registering body which should be in a position to incorporate a register where the name is to be entered. MBBS degree does not entitle you to practice medicine. You need to be registered with the concerned state medical council, because the privileges of practicing are vested with you only after your name is included into that particular register. And as long as your name is included in the register, your privileges stand conferred. The moment it is out, it is coterminous with the exclusion of name in the register. Therefore, the requirement of a registering body, registering qualification and the registering body. Registering qualification in this country came to be vested in terms of the Indian degrees of medical contour in terms of 1916 Indian Medical Degrees Act. But then even the graduates and the licentiates were to be registered with General Medical Council UK. It was 1933-34 that the first act came to be promulgated as Indian Medical Council Act. 1934 passed by the British Parliament, vide which the Indian Medical Degrees Act graduates came to be registered in a register which was called as Indian Medical Register, which ultimately was repealed in the year 1956. Along with the UGC Act came Indian Medical Council Act 1956, resulting in creation of the Indian Medical Council, headed by an Indian, Dr. Vidhan Chandra Rai being the first president, which was in operation till the year 2019, came to be repealed by National Medical Commission Act 2019. Thus the second requirement, a registering body. On application, you and me, with registration and inclusion in the name, we are conferred the privileges of practicing medicine. Are those absolute privileges? Are those unconditional privileges? Are those privileges where the wings are not clipped to the apron? No, ladies and gentlemen, they are restricted privileges. And what are the restrictions? The only restriction is that the profession is entitled to be carried on as a part of the conferred privileges within the tenets of three important parables: ethicality, morality, and value ethos. This is Code of Medical Ethics, Behavior, Etiquettes 2000. I had the fortune of structuring that as its author for the first time in the year 2000. That is Code of Medical Ethics. Adherence to the Code of Medical Ethics is not only mandatory, but it is as a part of ethics to begin with. It is a part of oath to begin with, in terms of Hippocratic oath in parlance and in tandem with the Western medicine that came into being, to be converted in the year 1948 through an oath created out of Geneva Declaration, converted into Geneva Convention out of the 1948 London Conference of World Medical Association, in which India is one of the signatories. Why I am putting this across, ladies and gentlemen? Only for one purpose. हम हमेशा वर्णन किया करते हैं कि शरीर का होना अत्यंत लाजमी है, शरीर के अंतर्गत मन का होना और लाजमी है, मन के साथ बुद्धि का होना जरूरी है, बुद्धि के साथ अहंकार का आना प्रकृति है, पर इन सब के अंतर्गत एक बहुत महत्वपूर्ण स्थिति है, वह है चित्त, और उस चित्त के साथ में जुड़ी हुई हमारी संकल्पना आत्मा। इन सारी परिधियों का अगर हम विचार करें तो कदाचित हम उस साइकोलॉजिकल थियरी के साथ खड़े होते हैं जहां पर ऑल्दो वी कॉल एज माई सेल्फ, यूर सेल्फ, हिम सेल्फ, हर सेल्फ, दाई सेल्फ, इट सेल्फ, ये सेल्फ SELF सेल्फ नहीं है, ये सेल्फ SHELVS के साथ बना हुआ SELF सेल्फ है, जिसके अंतर्गत आप विचार करिए वैल्यू, मोरालिटी और इथॉस का प्राप्त का होना अनिवार्य है, इनएविटेबल है। मैं केवल एक घटनाक्रम के साथ अपनी बात खत्म करना चाहूंगा। 1894 स्वामी विवेकानंद निश्चित तौर के ऊपर में भारतीय संस्कृति का विवेचन करते हुए उनकी अमेरिकन बहुत फेमस 1893 की सर्वधर्म परिषद के उस ब्रदर्स एंड सिस्टर्स ऑफ अमेरिका के व्याख्यान के बाद का घटनाक्रम 1994 के अंतर्गत उनके सामने किया गया एक प्रश्न और उसका दिया हुआ उत्तर मैं समझता हूं कि कदाचित मैं जो निवेदित करना चाहता हूं उसकी पृष्ठभूमि में यह उसकी आत्मा है। उनसे क्रिश्चियन बिशप्स ने उनके सम्मेलन को वो एड्रेस कर रहे थे, उनसे एक सवाल पूछा कि आप बहुत संस्कृति की बात करते हैं, आप बताइए आपकी संस्कृति की परिधि, व्याख्या और व्याप्ति क्या है। बहुत समर्पक, सीधे और सरल शब्दों के अंतर्गत उन्होंने बताया कि मुझे भूख लगी, मैंने मेरी भूख को शांत करने के लिए भोजन प्राप्त किया, क्षुधा की शांति की, ये मेरी प्रकृति है। मुझे भूख लगी और मैंने किसी और का खाना छीन करके खाया, ये मेरी विकृति है। मुझे भूख लगी और मैंने मेरे खाने के साथ ही उसी खाने में किसी भूखे को भी खिलाया, ये संस्कृति है। इन तीनों विधाओं के अंतर्गत वस्तुस्थिति एक ही है, इसमें कहीं कोई अंतर नहीं है, केवल संदर्भ अलग 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 हैं। एक जगह मैं और मैं हूं, एक जगह तू चूल्हे में जाए मैं हूं, और एक जगह तू है इसलिए मैं हूं और मैं और तू हैं इसलिए हम हैं। इट इज दिस, लेडीज एंड जेंटलमैन, विच इज द फेस ऑफ ह्यूमनाइजेशन। कॉन्टेम्पलेट सिचुएशन। और इसलिए मैं बार बार कहता हूं, I am wanting to just, Professor Russell, one thing which I was just thought over and I was dying to put this across, and that is, आप कभी विचार करिए, think over it. हमारा एथिकल कंडक्ट ये केवल अब एक कल्पना का विषय नहीं है, ये केवल एक सांस्कृतिक विषय नहीं है। I am of the concerned opinion, Dr. Mahalingam, that ये कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन का विषय, it is constitutional in nature. आप विचार करिए, where exactly the preamble of the constitution begin? The preamble of the constitution of this country of yours and mine does not begin with I give this constitution to you or you give this constitution to the nation. It is not his constitution, it's not she's constitution, it's not its constitution, it's not their constitution. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar was a legendary intellectual giant. His English was extraordinarily great. He could have used any words for the purposes of depiction of the preamble, and of course it was penned by Nehru and improvised by the entire Constitution Committee. It does not contemplate any of the 6 alternatives of pronouns which were available in English grammar. It's not he, it's not she, it's not it, it's not I, it's not you, it's not they. It basically talks we, the people of this country. It is the concept of we, ladies and gentlemen, which is incorporated therein. We ka concept is accommodative. We ka concept is mutual understanding. We ka concept is flexibility. We ka understanding is humanity. We ka understanding basically वसुदैव कुटुंबकम का ही कंसेप्ट वी है। जो देश वसुदैव कुटुंबकम की रचना और ऋचा इमोशनल ग्लोबलाइजेशन के नाम पर जो करता हो, अगर वो देश बायोएथिक्स की वर्ल्ड कॉन्फ्रेंस का हकदार नहीं होता तो दुनिया का कोई देश उसका हकदार नहीं हो सकता था। इट इज इन दैट कॉन्टेक्स्ट 2026 इवेंट इज ए रियलिस्टिक रिकॉग्निशन ऑफ the cultural ethos of this country, which is required to be integrated into the medical profession for the purposes of maintaining and upholding the face of humanized profession in the name of humanism for the cause of humanity in the realistic essence of human beings and the profession being of the human beings, by the human beings and for the human beings. Now it is the turn of the entire team of Santosh University to pick up this particular contour and realistically make it an epoch-making historicity in terms of not only it being an extraordinarily organized conference, but the charter and the declaration that emerges out of it should be a real eye-opener for the entire global professional community and committee to be falling in line that but for ethics and professional ethics, the whole of the profession will be bereft. It will only be Kalevar without Atma. It's in that contour, once again, complimenting the entire Santosh family for this great notable achievement that in the name of Mother India has come into their lap. They will rise to the occasion, and like true sons of Mother India, they will be making the Indian flag fly high in the Committee of Nations, ever fluttering in the way it ought to. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.